Hello, everyone. Welcome to Backyard Musings. I'm Steve.
And I'm Scott.
Thank you for joining us today. Just a quick mention our hearts go out to the people who are in the path of Hurricane Milton. Governor DeSantis has issued an evacuation order for areas affected. Uh, I don't know if it's all of Florida or the coastal areas.
From the direction that I saw that they predict this hurricane to go, if I were in any part of the peninsula, I would get the heck out of Dodge. It's crazy. We actually were visiting with some friends. I won't mention their names, but you know them. They used to be in our ward. They're here in Utah visiting and staying in their home here. Um, their son and daughter-in-law are in Orlando, and they do not have a vehicle. They Uber everywhere when they go there on vacation, and so they're stuck there. So they're kind of hunkered down in a hotel. They hope everything's good. They fly out Friday if possible. So I don't know. It's pretty crazy. I guess this is a pretty. I was looking at this on the storm map. It's a huge, huge storm.
Yeah.
So hopefully everything will be all right. But I mean, obviously, the majority of that peninsula of Florida, they're just going to get pounded. So, and they just got pounded a couple weeks ago with
Yeah.
Helene, right? So
This will be a greater pounding. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Man.
So yeah,
I,
we're
I,
for all of them.
I hope FEMA started that GoFundMe page to help them out.
I hope people are donating to that GoFundMe page if
Yeah.
that's the case. So
Yeah. Okay. Today, today we're going to talk about how Governor Tim Walz made a new push for replacing the Electoral College in favor of a national popular vote, as Democrats are again wary of a scenario in which Vice President Kamala Harris wins the popular vote but fails to secure the presidency. And that's happened a handful of times, going
Hillary,
back to 2000.
yeah, Hillary Clinton,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Donald Trump, that was a big deal.
Yeah.
Um, two,
Bush. I think
with Bush,
Bush. Yeah.
yeah, Bush and Gore. Or was it Al Gore?
Al
Um,
Gore didn't win. Oh, he got the popular vote, yeah, but not the
Barely.
electoral college.
Yeah, that was such that big deal again about with Florida and some of their counties and stuff with those hanging chads and what a
Yeah.
mess. So, but yeah,
So,
this it's
so
crazy.
this he said, I quote, I think all of us know the electoral college needs to go. That's what he said at a campaign fundraiser with California Governor Gavin Newsom on Tuesday afternoon, which is yesterday.
Yeah, there's a
According,
pair to do, huh?
pardon me.
I said there's a pair to draw to.
Yeah,
Walz and Newton in the same room. Oh my
birds of
gosh.
a feather. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was according to pool reporters. We need quote we need a national popular vote that is something, but that's not the world we live in. So today we are going to talk about the Electoral College, how it came about, and what it's about. You just can't wave a wand and say we don't want it anymore.
Yeah. So again, the Democrats try to trample the Constitution, right? So the
Yeah.
founding fathers established the Electoral College in the Constitution, in part as a compromise between the election of the president by a vote in Congress and election of the president by a popular vote of qualified citizens. And I emphasize qualified citizens, right?
Yeah.
Uh, However, the term electoral college does not appear in the Constitution. Article 2 of the Constitution and the 12th Amendment refers to electors, but not to the electoral college. And here is what the 12th Amendment reads.
Yeah,
Uh,
so the 12th Amendment kind of revised how the president and vice president are gave clarity because this was right after the ratification of the Bill of Rights. So this is what it says, and this is all quote right from the text. And it's mainly the first clause, the first paragraph. The rest of the paragraphs are about the president and vice president. The electors shall meet in their respective states and vote by ballot for president and vice president, one of whom at least shall not be an inhabitant of the same state with themselves. So you can't, the president, vice president can't be from Florida, both, or both from New York, or both from Hawaii. It has to be different states, right?
right. That would have been earlier on. before the primaries or during the primaries, they were talking about DeSantis and Trump being on the same ticket. That wouldn't have worked out.
it
Somebody would
wouldn't
have
work. Yeah.
relocate. So
Yeah, and it's interesting to note meet in their respective states. So these are citizens of the state. So like California, it will be California citizens that will be the electors. And we're going to get into that a little bit later on. Each party has electors, and
correct.
we'll show you how the electors who they are, the quantity. How do you get to that quantity? Okay, they shall name in their ballots the person voted for as president, and in distinct ballots the person voted for as vice president. This was back when there wasn't a ticket that you'd vote for the president and the vice president. This is like 1804. This was made. And they shall make distinct lists of all persons voted for as president and all persons voted for as vice president, and of the number of votes for each, which list they shall sign and certify. So this is the state people, and transmit sealed to the seat of the government of the United States, directed to the president of the Senate, who is the current vice president.
Correct.
The president of the Senate shall, in the presence of the Senate and House of Representatives, open all the certificates, and the votes shall then be counted. So that's the first paragraph.
Yeah, and it's funny. People think about this stuff where just a few people got together in a room and maybe one or two people threw out some ideas, and then they decided, yeah, that's how we're going to do it. This was a drawn out deal, man. These people some of them didn't like each other. I mean, obviously we have history of people being killed in duels.
Yeah.
And this was not a just a bunch of guys getting together and having a couple pints and smoking on their stogies and deciding how the country was going to be. This was a process. So this was not easy that they came up with this. So
this is like the Federalist Papers, back and forth, editorials in newspapers, robust discussions in each state legislature. Yeah, right. You're exactly right, Scott.
Yeah, but they obviously they cared enough about what they came from, right, in England, and what they wanted to form here to decide on this stuff. And it's worked for almost 250 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Secretary of State for each state certified the electoral vote for each state. It would take a constitutional amendment to abolish the electoral process, which that's going to be tough to do, right? The number of electors equals the number of representatives and senators. And this is where it gets kind of lopsided, but it comes down to the representatives come down to the amount of people you have in your state, right? The more people you have,
the more seats in government you have.
Right. Yeah. So currently there are 538 electoral votes. California has 2 senators, which every state has 2 senators, mm-hmm. right? And 53 House representatives. So 55 electoral votes.
Yeah.
Which is a lot. I mean, I think it's the most.
Because they're populous. Yeah. New York is similar. They have a lot of population.
Yeah. So each state determines how electors shall vote. In all but 2 states, it's a winner take all, which maybe that could be changed a little bit, but whatever, that's in there. And that's the way
that is what could be changed right there.
Correct. So Maine and Nebraska being the exception. So if Harris won California by a slim margin, 50.5 to 49.5, let's say, which probably won't happen, but it could, then Harris would receive all the electoral votes, which
all is, of them.
And that's the way it's been. I can't remember the last time a president won California. Maybe Reagan.
Yeah. Oh no, Schwarzenegger.
I'm talking about president.
Oh, president.
So, president. Yeah. So I think it was probably Reagan. Maybe one of the Bushes. I don't know. But I mean, we had a couple landslides there during Reagan's term. So maybe that was it. So Nebraska, like you said, apportions the electoral votes by congressional district. So because of their population, Nebraska has 2 votes and Maine has 3 votes. Again, population based. Obama split the Nebraska vote in 2008. One Democrat and the other district votes Republican. Trump split the electoral vote in Maine in 2016. He won the second district in rural Maine. Clinton won the big cities in coastal Maine. So, but again, that's just the way it's set up. So yeah, I could see, because I mean, what do you got? You got California, because of our coastal cities, controls, like we talked about many times, controls the vote in California because of areas like the Bay Area, Los Angeles,
Yeah.
Oakland, which is
San
Bay Area.
Diego. Yeah.
Yeah. But the rural areas, or the more inland areas, like where we live, lean Republican. But
Yeah.
we just don't have the bodies and the people that are voting to take care of it.
That's correct. The
Same in
population
New
centers
York.
are in the big cities.
Right, New York, right? Maybe the only exception to that would be Florida, but even then, some of their counties lean blue.
Miami area, Miami-Dade always went blue until recently. This last election, it voted for DeSantis.
Right, and
Yeah.
and I guess Florida is another, winner take all. New York is a winner take all, and those are probably the three largest electoral vote states, I would think.
So if you want to change the electoral college, then you increase the number of electoral votes, meaning you let's say you reduce the population size to qualify for a district. I think right now it's a couple 100,000 people form one district, or you increase that threshold, which would decrease the number of electoral votes. That's one way that uh, I think it's the states. Each state would have to do that. No, no. I'm sorry. The federal government, Congress, would have to vote that, right? And then each state can change how they can do a winner take all. They can do it by district. That's the way you change it. You just can't abolish it.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I can see where, because of what we just talked about, why the Harris-Walz ticket would want to change that. The last person that complained about that, I believe, was Hillary Clinton. She abolished that. But it's just, again, I think the reason, and maybe not the main reason, but these guys saw where, and again, back then there was only 13 states, right? Or 13 colonies or whatever.
Right.
So there wasn't the populace that we had now. And in an article that I read about this, they said that they didn't have they wouldn't have been able to figure or see the changes that we are having now, 200 or 250 years later. I dispute that. I believe that, because these guys were God-fearing men. They, whether they liked each other or not, they all believed in a higher power, and they based that on a higher power. If you don't believe that, just read the Constitution. They were God-fearing men, and they believed in divine intervention. But they did that because they felt that at some point along the line, somebody was going to be able to take advantage because they had more cronies in one county or one state or whatever, and they didn't want that advantage. They didn't want it to be an advantage like that. So I don't know. I'm a big fan, a big proponent of this. So I think
you made a comment about how it's different. Today, the magnitude is bigger with population. Back then, they had 13 states to work with, and there were people in the population centers, and there were farmers in the rural areas. So they just had it on a smaller scale. They had to think about it. But the principle's same, whether you have 1 billion citizens or 100 million citizens.
Yeah.
The principle's still the same.
And it's funny, in that same article, they, like the comment that was made from I think it was Mr. Axelrod about the voting problems in North Carolina. They felt that the people that were in the inner cities were more in tune to what was going on politically than the people in the rural areas, like the farmers and the ranchers. And that's just so wrong. That's just so wrong. I mean, look at a state like Wyoming. There's a little over 1 million people, I believe, in Wyoming. Maybe I could be off a little bit, and state of Utah, there's less people in Utah than there are in the county of Los Angeles. Put that in perspective. They vote. This is a conservative leaning state here in Utah. California, obviously, in certain areas like we talked about, are not conservative leaning, but everybody needs to vote. But everybody needs to be aware of the reasons,
Issues. Yeah.
The issues, and that's the part that we lack. And maybe back then they did too. Maybe people, just leave me alone. I'm out on my farm. I got cows, some fruit, and some vegetables that I'm growing to survive on. So just leave me alone. But fortunately, back then, I think they were even more in tune because they were the people that came and served in the legislature and then went home. They didn't
That's
make
where
it.
town halls came into, because the people would gather at the town hall and someone would get on the stump and start speaking.
Yeah, and they didn't make it a lifestyle like they do now. It's a career, and that's a sad deal. So,
yeah.
But,
all right, folks, thanks for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow.
Yep. Have a great day. Take care. Thanks.